So my process usually starts on Pinterest finding a reference photo. Now you don't have to use a reference photo, you could just paint anything you want from your brain, but because I paint as kind of like a meditative activity, I like to have something to work off of first, and then as the painting kind of starts to take shape, I will just go off and do my own thing. But for the beginning stages, it's really helpful to have a reference photo, and I usually use the size of this little square here, which is just equal proportions for width and height, or I will do an A4 dimension, which is a template within Procreate like you see here, which is just a little bit taller than it is wide, and I'll just pick whatever I want based on the reference photo that I chose. For this painting, I ended up doing the A4 size. And then I create my custom color palette based on whatever reference photo I chose. So you'll just hit plus, new palette from photo, and then click your reference photo, and it will automatically create a palette based on that photo. Again, as I start painting, I will pick my own colors and kind of go off on my own, but for the beginning stages, for me, I find it really helpful to at least have some sort of color palette based on my reference photo ready to go. If you're like a purist, true artist, you will probably be able to do this without having a custom color palette like this. You'll just be able to do it based on your eye and feel, but I am not, so I'm just doing this for fun, and so I like to have a place to begin with my color palette. And the brush that I use for the entire painting mostly is the oil painting brush, which is a brush that you get with Procreate, so you don't have to pay for anything extra. It's already there for you, and it's just a great brush. I've used real oil paints many times, and I feel like this brush does a good job of replicating how the medium works. It will blend the colors together if you paint over them. It's not like acrylic where it will dry and then you can paint over it in layers. Like, the colors will blend together if you paint over top of them and kind of smear in different ways, which I really like that look, which is why I love using this brush so much. And then you can see I'm going to my Actions tab, hitting Insert Photo, and I'm just inserting my reference photo on top of my canvas. And I like to do this to, one, just get a better idea of where everything is, but also if you tap and hold on your picture, you can pick up any specific color from any place on the photo that you want, just making it a little bit more easy for me to kind of pick up on different colors and different shades. And then I just grab a black or dark gray color and I do what's called an underpainting, which is basically just kind of getting the main shapes and sizes down, just kind of formulating your initial painting to see where everything is and kind of making sure proportions are looking okay. Of course, mine is never close to perfect, but just generally look back and forth from your reference photo and kind of try to sketch out generally where things are. This just helps start to formulate the painting before you even worry about colors and shades and all of that kind of stuff. It's basically like sketching out your drawing before you color it. And the beauty of being digital for someone like me who is not yet very good at picking up on proportions, I can just quickly resize this to better fit what my reference photo is showing. So once I have my underpainting / sketch layer done, I will just go to my layers tab and I will add a new one on top of it, and I will go to my sketch layer and make the opacity a little bit more transparent so that way I can start painting over this the actual colors and all of the things that I'm actually going to have in my finished product. I like to start with shadows, or just what I imagine is the colors that are behind the green leaves that you're seeing here. This in particular was tough for me. I really struggle with flowers, and I'll just say that the painting of this didn't end up turning out as good as other paintings I've done in the past, and I ended up doing another one for you guys, a lemon painting, just at the end so you could see my process again. But basically I just go in with this oil painting brush and I put in my back shadow, and then I just started putting over the main shapes that I was seeing for the leaves. And this is the part where it's kind of a shot into the dark for me. I kind of just start putting things and placing things how I see them, and it's not always perfect, but I just keep going and eventually it starts to come together. At the beginning of every single painting, I genuinely don't know how I'm going to paint it. I feel a little bit overwhelmed. I don't know like the proper way, but I just start putting in shapes, putting in main colors and things that I'm seeing, and I don't worry about any details in the beginning. I just want to get a base painting of something that kind of looks like a bouquet of flowers. And once I can kind of see the bouquet start to form, I will go in and start adding more highlights and things. You can see I'm adding in some of the stems. I'm starting to try to formulate some of the petals on the tulips. I don't know how successfully I am doing this. Like I said, I really struggle with flowers. I find it really hard to get them to look realistic like I see other people do, but it's just one of those things that's going to take a lot of practice. And I'm kind of using a gray color here to create the illusion of a glass jar that's holding the tulips, and just kind of adding some highlights so that it looks like the glass is reflecting off of some sort of light source. And here I'm just keep going back in, adding in more colors, more details, kind of zooming it out to see what it looks like from afar, and editing it and just adding more and more layers of paint. And when I say I'm adding layers of paint, I'm not adding more layers on my canvas. I do this all with one brush, all on one canvas, just like you would do a normal oil painting. And I sped up a lot of this, but I was working on this for quite a while and I just could not get it to be what I wanted it to be. So this is the point where I gave up and I said, okay, let's just move on to the next steps. So I like to do a layer on top of kind of a textured layer. So I just added a layer on top. I picked a dry brush, which is also within Procreate, but you can use any brush. You could use an oil painting brush. And I got a light grayish green color and I just painted over top of it. And it looks crazy right now, but once you go into your layer and you tap on the N, there's going to be all of these different options, and I just kind of go through each and see what looks good. It kind of creates a screen over top of texture, and you can also change the opacity as well and kind of mess with that. But when you get it right and you kind of find something that works, it just adds a subtle texture on top of your whole painting that I find makes it look a little more analog, a little more real, a little bit more like an actual oil painting. So I kind of do that, and then I change my background. I go back and forth between doing neutral backgrounds or picking like fun, colorful backgrounds, but today I just did a light pink. And then I go to my adjustment tools and I go to the hue, saturation, and brightness, and I kind of just play around with the different tools here and see what looks good and see if anything makes the colors look a little better, makes it pop more. So I will, change the saturation, make it a little bit brighter or maybe more muted depending on the look I'm going for. I'll go to the hue and you can kind of change if it's more warm tone, cool toned. You can bring out the greens more. And I just like to play around with all of these different settings because you can, and it's digital, so you can edit it after the fact, which is really fun. And that is pretty much my entire process. It's very simple. And like I said, this one didn't turn out that great. So here is a sped up version of my lemon painting. guys enjoyed this little painting video and maybe it inspired you to start painting yourself, you don't have to know a lot about art or Procreate to start making paintings on your iPad. You just need one brush, about 20 to 30 minutes, and a positive attitude, and I promise you can make something that you're actually surprised that you could make. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video.